What's going on, everybody? I'm Keith, host of Just Our Thoughts with the Fellas, where 4 to 5 of my brothers give their perspective on national as well as local news. We touch on some trending hot topics as well as culturally relevant news. We also get a chance to dive into some deep core conversations. Check us out live every other Monday at 7 p.m. You can find us on Just Our Thoughts on YouTube live, as well as Just Our Thoughts fan page on Facebook. Also, please don't forget to follow us on IG, JOT with the Fellas.
What up? What up? What up? What's going on? This is your boy Keith here, and I'm here by myself today, rocking and rolling. Definitely got an amazing guest coming to join us, Patrick Paige. He's going to be talking that vegan life, and we're going to take this conversation elsewhere. But we certainly looking forward to having a good time today. I'm back with just our thoughts. I'm Keith. I'm your host. I'm here by myself. I'm here by myself today. The fellas, they're not joining me today, but certainly wanted to just give a shout out, a rest in peace to a legend as known as Bill Russell. 11 and 1 in the NBA Finals, 10 and 0 in game finals, 5 MVPs. Bill Russell, man, is a legend to say the least. You know, when we think about Bill Russell, every NBA player he pretty much mentored. So I wanted to just take some time and give a shout out to the legend, to the icon, Bill Russell. Watching the news today, it was just so awesome. You know, the credit that was given to Bill Russell, not just on the basketball court, but pretty much for his life. We talk about the summit that he joined Muhammad Ali, one of the most iconic black art pictures ever, where you had Bill Russell, Jim Brown, you had Muhammad Ali and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You know, when they were down there for the summit, when they were supporting Muhammad Ali. So I certainly want to give Bill Russell his credit and his flowers. And Bill also got his credit and his flowers while he was living. So certainly want to give him a shout out, man, for a life well lived, a life, that he gave to our people, when it came to civil rights, when it came to advocating for black folks. That's Bill Russell, the first black African American head coach in the city of Boston, in 1966. Did you hear me? The city of Boston in 1966. A legend to say the least. I want to give a shout out to him, his family. I think he had 3 kids. Prayers and condolences to the family of Bill Russell. Speaking of that, personally, I want to give a thank you. I definitely want to give a thank you to everyone. I lost my mother a little over a month ago, so I definitely want to give a thank you, just an appreciation to the outpouring of people, to whether it's a DM, whether it's text, whether it's phone calls, messages, voicemails, just an outpour, man. Everybody knew how much I love my mom and the relationship that she and I had, the support that we both had back and forth. I want to give everybody a thank you. I don't, you guys know I haven't talked about it much. I haven't gotten on here and talk about it much, and I won't. But I do want to tell a lot of people, everybody, just thank you, man. Just the phone calls, it meant so much. The text, the thinking about yous. It's been a tough ride. When you get up and something knocks you back down. I felt like I was hit with the weight of the world, and the truck, ran me over. And as I get back up, I'm still trying to take the rubble, still trying to take the pieces out of my body, to keep it moving. But just want to say thank you, man, for the outpour. People that I haven't talked to in some time, them sincerely just reaching out. I was able to read the guest list, and I didn't know so many people were there, showed up just to show support. And it's some amazing people out there. And during these times, we certainly need that. So I just want to just take that time to, just to give a thank you, man, an appreciation. My heart goes out to everybody as their heart was lent to me during that period of time of comfort, which was well needed. Even the phone calls, man. I certainly appreciate that. With no further ado, I got my man Patrick Paige who is about to join us. Patrick Paige is dope. We met in a vegan group. We met in a vegan group, and I stay in a vegan group. I'm trying to learn a lot more. I'm not a vegan, but I'm really trying to learn a lot more about the vegan life. So I wanted to bring my brother Patrick Paige on. What's up, Patrick?
What's up, Keith? How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good, man. Hey, it's good to have you, man. It's certainly good to have you on here. Patrick is an Air Force veteran on a mission to spread a movement of positive reinforcement and financial advancement. Originally being from Charlotte, North Carolina, he became a leader in his community by hosting educational seminars. Now he serves the community through helping them navigate real estate and transition into their next steps in their life. Patrick, what's up, my good brother?
Man, it's good to be here, Keith. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. My
man,
family. Thank you for just having me, man.
Yeah. It's been a tough time, man. It's been a tough time this last couple months, man. I'm a very visual person, so I actually see myself, as I'm getting up after getting knocked back down off of the ground. Like I literally see myself getting up, and another bat just hits me in the back of my head or in my back, and now, it's time to get back up again and keep moving. But I know there's going to be some more trucks. But I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful. It's one thing about when you do right by people. The one thing I learned when you do right by people, man, you don't have any regrets. You don't have any regrets, man. And there's no I wish I could have, I should have, or maybe if I did. There's no regrets, and just be appreciative, man, of the life, so now it's for me, it's my new norm, and for me it's it's living, with this now, and how do I, continue to navigate, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it, man. But enough about me, man. Thank you for your condolences. Thank you for your prayers and your best wishes, Patrick. But Patrick, vegan life, man.
Vegan.
How? Why? How? When? What? How did this happen, man?
Man, I'll be real with you. I was always that guy who always said that he would never go vegan. I was totally against it.
Really?
Yeah, I was completely against it. But about 3 years ago, I was challenged to do a 30-day vegetarian challenge. So I went 30 days. I did that vegetarian challenge, and man, after 30 days of just doing no meat, I felt completely transformed. Really? To the point where at the end of that 30 days, I told myself I would be a fool if I were to go back, just because of how great that I felt from that 30 days. Right. So I took that 30 days and I slowly went from vegetarian and transitioned to being vegan. I didn't go completely full throttle vegan right away. I did go vegetarian, and then I went vegan, but it just started off as a challenge, but I started to feel clarity that like my mind started to feel more clear. My body started to feel a little bit more energized. My muscles started to feel like they can heal a little bit faster after working out. It was just these things that was happening. And I said, man, I can't go back.
Nice. So I'm a pescatarian. I became a pescatarian. Man, Patrick, I want to say about 8 years ago. I lean on the 8, but it could be 9 because I don't want to act like I'm pushing that thing out a little bit further. But I want to say about 8, and it for me. And you talk about feeling better. For me, there was a time during the summer. A time during the winter, Patrick, and my stomach just wasn't feeling right. I mean, I was never a steak eater. One of my best friends, who's actually part of our podcast, Ward, he's a big steak eater. Ward loves a big steak, and I'm not a steak eater. So when I eat meat, though, like it just was tearing my stomach up at times. There was something going on with my stomach, Patrick. And for a while, and I love a good grilled hot dog. I love it, brother. So for a while, though, I said, you know what? Let me just stop and see what this is like. Let me slow down and see what this is like. Let me pay attention. Let me pay attention to my body. And I didn't know that I stopped eating meat. And I realized it on July 4th when I was at one of my best friend's barbecues. And after that, I said, all right, like you, I'm not going back. I'm not going back. So, so do you find that to be often where it's a diet, it's something that I transition to, or is it something that I don't want to eat or affect animals? Because you got two things going on at time.
Yeah, you got two things going on. For me, I would say it's more so a lifestyle, even more than a diet, just because I had to choose how does this affect my life and those around me, right? Because I don't necessarily push veganism onto people, but I do. One of the things that I love to do is I love to implement it into my lifestyle so much to where people are curious and then they want to sometimes take part into what I do. So I try to create a community around it. Nice. I didn't really go towards veganism because of, the animals and things like that. But I do see how it can benefit our environment, right? By going plant-based, right? Or eating. And I tell people, like, even if you don't go completely vegan, maybe you can implement a couple meals a week now that don't involve meat, right? So it's just like, how can we just transition into a better lifestyle? And I think that's where I started to like just implement it with my community around me.
Is that easier? Do you find that to be easier for people to do things in moderation, or to, like you, like myself, just go cold turkey? Well, you didn't quite go cold turkey.
I didn't quite go cold turkey. I did cut out meat cold turkey.
You did cut out meat.
I cut out meat cold turkey. I went vegan. But I would say that for those people who know that their discipline level is there to where they can just cut it off, I think it can work for us. But I do think that there's those people who, in moderation, it works better. Taking those baby steps, which is where I encourage people to do, because you won't feel as if you're missing anything. Because I know sometimes people will feel like there's this lack or limit when they just go completely cold turkey. But I don't like to make moves or decisions in lack or limit. So I'll rather have somebody go in moderation and take some steps and go in increments rather than go all the way. Right. So even if somebody did say, hey, I'm going to just cut it out tomorrow, I still will recommend that they increment their way to going vegan or plant-based, or just maybe a couple meals a week.
So I'm into and help me out. I'm into juicing, right?
Okay.
So I 2 weeks ago I was at a smoothie truck and I had a green smoothie. Patrick, I was so disappointed in this green smoothie. I was disappointed, man. And I'm saying to myself, I can make this better, because I felt as if I do. And maybe it's because it's my taste and I know what I want. But when it comes to juicing, what are some of the things that people can, so I've heard that you pull a lot of the nutrients out, when you juice, and you strip the vegetable, you strip the fruit from its natural state and its nutrients. What are some of the things that you can tell people to encourage juicing when they're trying to change and when they're trying to add more nutrients to their diet?
Right. I would say that for me, it helps to, one, if you get a juicer, I would say definitely make it to where you get a lot of greens, right? You get a lot of greens in, but you got to understand that fruits and vegetables serve different purposes, right? And I think sometimes we just go to straight like green juices, and that can sometimes push people away from juicing. I would say it's easier to start off with fruits, just because it's a little bit tastier for us. And sometimes we tend to go away from things that don't sit right with the taste bud, which is why I started with fruit juicing before I started with vegetable juicing. Nice, right. Okay. So I started with fruit juicing, and that helped me with my nutrients. And then I started vegetable juicing, and then I started to blend the two. Right. Because some people might say don't blend them because the vegetables and the fruits, they serve two different purposes. But for me personally, just with working out and different things like that, I like to get a lot of the macros in. I like to definitely get in my
Okay.
protein. Like
That's
I
what I'm
add
talking
chia
about.
seeds. Like there's different things that I add into my juices to make it a little bit more enjoyable, right? So if you got a whole bunch of greens in there, man, I would say add some bananas, right? Like
Okay.
add some fruit
Right.
in there that can just help you get through it a little better. So I would say even some agave. Right, a lot of people might say they don't add different things to their fruit, but agave is a natural sweetener that comes from the plant, right? So I would say add those different things that can make your juicing experience just a little bit better, right? So I also know that there are some stores, right? This is for people who, you know, might not be comfortable with going to buy a juicer just yet, but I know that there's some stores that you can go to and get some really good organic juices that can get you started, right? This is before you go home, you buy a $200
I got
juicer.
you.
I would say
Right.
go try and see what ingredients are in some of those juices and see like what taste do you like from those juices, and you might be able to then pick some really good ones from there. But I always suggest to start with fruits, then have your veggies, and then try mixing them and combining and like pretty much down with the ingredients that way.
Nice. No, that's some good info right there. I think my issue, Patrick. Sometimes I don't feel like cleaning my juicer,
Me,
brother.
it's one of the most tough. I mean, I don't like doing it. I'm lazy when it comes down to cleaning that juicer.
Man, I just did some. What I do? I just did some celery and ginger. I want to say Saturday, Friday or
Yep.
Saturday. I did some celery and ginger, and I'm trying to take some sips during the course of the day because I honestly I could drink it all. I could
Yeah.
drink it all in one setting, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's the greens that tear that daggone juicer
Yep.
up.
Yep. 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 That is sure. And it'll stay like that for a good minute too, from my side.
So if you can, man, if you can, we both navigate in that black man vegan group. I can't recall the name of it. It's two things that I often see. One I wanted to ask you about, and if you can school me on, if you can help me out with, and not just me, but those that are listening, talk to me about soy.
Soy.
Talk to me about soy. I've read, and there's always two sides. If you could talk to me about soy, I've heard soy is not good. It's not a good thing. It produces a lot of estrogen. But there has to be a good side to it. So I'm not too familiar with the soy thing, and even oftentimes vegans they stay away from soy as well. And I'm not too privy to that.
Okay. Well, I'll be honest. So beginning my journey, I didn't necessarily understand like
Hmm.
why a lot of vegans stayed away from soy. But then I started to do my research as well, and I hear about the estrogen. But I came to this decision personally, and this is why I would say that too much of anything is bad for you,
Hmm.
right? And that's
Gotcha.
and coming just the same reason why there's that battle of people who say like they won't take part into like impossible meats, beyond meats, and different things like that because they feel like it's not natural. They feel like it's not truly
Hmm.
the healthiest way to be vegan. There are different categories of being vegan. Vegan is a whole community itself, right? So you have your raw vegans who they won't really take advantage of anything that's processed, right? So the way I look at soy is I still consume soy, but at a very low
No,
level.
right. Okay.
And I don't take in a lot of soy just because I know that too much of it can start creating more estrogen and just start having health problems from there. But I won't completely take it out of my
Hmm.
consumption right now, just
Hmm.
because going vegan already, you're really, I'm not gonna say you're limited, but you do have to think when a new vegan comes into it, they feel like there's not much for them, right? They
Right.
don't feel like there's
Right.
much they can
Right.
eat. So soy itself, I would say, over time, taking in too much of it, you will see some health. You can see some possible health declinations in there. So I would say, for me personally, I just kind of went down a little bit on how much I
I
consume
got you.
soy. At first, I wasn't necessarily sure, like, so I was just really eating anything that was processed. But now I would say that I create a lot of my substitutes myself now, right? So I use a lot of the mushrooms. I use a lot of the cauliflowers and the different things that help
Nice.
me to
Right.
be able to
Right.
bind things
Right.
and do things that way. So that's my personal opinion on soy.
I got you.
I know that there's people who will stay completely away from it.
Completely away.
But that's only if you're looking to be a little bit more on the raw vegan side, right?
Okay.
And if you stay away from soy, I would just recommend you go ahead and go all the way and stay away from processed foods, because it will be kind of in the same category. Too much of it can harm you in the future, right?
Okay.
So that's something I would just say to the audience on that as well.
Brother, you just said there's different type of vegans. There's so many different type of vegans. I just heard flexitarian. I just heard the term flexitarian, I want to say 3 months ago, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind when I heard flexitarian. And for me, the way I see it, that's not a vegan. It's not a vegan.
So
Can you explain?
What is a flexitarian, Zach? I've heard the term, but I don't necessarily know what the definition of that is.
So the concept is, I'm a vegan, but on occasions I'll eat meat. Simple as that.
Nah.
I'm vegan, but on occasions I'll eat meat. So I've heard the term, and for me, I wanted to get a better understanding, because we can create. I feel like sometimes we can create a lot of different subtitles and categories and sections to allow us to do whatever the heck we want to do. And you chopping on a McDonald's cheeseburger,
right?
And you supposed to be a vegetarian, a vegan. I'm sorry. So,
man, I'll be real with you. I won't count that as being in the vegan community. If you're a flexitarian, I'm gonna just say that you're in transition. Okay, that's the easiest way I can put it. You're in transition, but you're not there yet. Okay,
it makes sense too. It makes sense, because it sounds like somebody that's actually transitioning to, or you transitioning out of being a vegan.
One of the two. One of the two. Exactly. Yeah.
Another thing that we see, man, is and I had a conversation with somebody maybe 2 weeks ago about this. I was looking for seeded watermelon, and it wasn't much around. I saw, first thing came up, Amazon, Whole Foods, and delivery, and a lot of different things, while I'm looking for seeded watermelon. And the question was, well, why are you looking for seeded? It's easier just to go without the seeds. And for me, to be honest, even those watermelon without the seeds, Patrick, still has those white seeds in it.
Yep, exactly.
Can you talk to us about seeded watermelon versus unseeded watermelon, and why is it so hard to find that seeded watermelon?
Well, they're mass producing fruits, vegetables, and food. And I will say this: any fruit that does not have a seed, when you find those grapes that don't have its seeds, when you find those oranges that don't have its seeds, it's the same situation where you're not really getting the true nutrients from the fruit if the seed is not there. And that is why I believe that I don't know if you hear about this food shortage that's going on, but they're literally mass producing these fruits and these vegetables, and it has honestly encouraged me to start growing my own, just because we're not getting our most authentic fruit. I don't know if you heard about, I know a lot of my friends have been telling me they've been traveling like internationally, and when they travel, they tell me they try these different foods, these fruits, and it tastes completely different from what we have here in the US. And it's because we have so much GMO and pesticides, and we alter our food so much that we're not getting the real nutrients as we should. And now it seems to become a norm for there to be seedless everything, seedless fruits, right? It's easy, right? We can just eat it and just be done with it. And that's what they're selling. They're selling convenience. And we have to understand that the convenience of not having the seed in there then puts us in a mindset that maybe this is normal, but it's not. And I recommend that for those that are looking to have the best nutrients and get the most out of what they buy, to find farmers or people who grow around them, because I know we have people here in Georgia that they're in parking lots selling these watermelons that have seeds.
Right.
And we have to support our local farmers. We have to support our people that's locally growing. So that's something that, going to the farmers market. That's another thing, man. I go to a farmers market to get my fruit and my vegetables, because those are normally, fruits and vegetables that are being grown. So you want to try to find fruits that have seeds in them, because when we keep going to these watermelons that don't have seeds, I'll be honest, you're not really getting what you think you're getting. And we have to change that. We have to.
Yeah. Now, I think it's sometimes when I go to the farmers market, honestly, it's still hard. It's still hard to find watermelon with seed, and there's several around here, but you certainly hit the nail right there on the head when you talk about going to and supporting our local businesses. That's a whole nother conversation that we definitely can have. Earlier, you said, you talked about, Beyond Meat. You talked about these other meats that give the form and the taste, similar taste of a meat. I'm big on Go Legendary meat. I am huge. I don't know if you're familiar with Go Legendary.
I am.
I am big. It's black owned. I stand by them, Go Legendary meat. And one of the things that I wanted to share is, or ask is, what how can I say this? Why is there an issue, or is there a struggle with vegans wanting to have meat that tastes, that look, or have plant-based food? I'm sorry, not meat, plant-based food that look and taste just like meat? I'm huge on it, but I see a lot of people, they often struggle with that.
Man, I would say there's a lot of people who they come into the plant-based world and they want it to be identical almost, right? And I have no problem with that, because sometimes people need that, especially with our eyes, because sometimes our eyes is like, it's not even the way it tastes. Sometimes does it look like I know people that would shy away from it, even if it don't look like, man, I won't eat that, get that away from me, right? So sometimes 100%. There are different ways to allow people to easily come into the plant-based world. I look at it as if it's a crutch, right? Like it's a crutch, because sometimes we lean on it a little bit when we first get into something new, as if like we don't want to hurt ourselves by going backwards in our lifestyle and going back to eating meat. So I do understand why people, they want it to taste like it, look like it, be just like it, and I understand that. And that's really why I came into the veganism, because I wanted to figure out, how can I take these same meals that I always loved from being a little boy? My mom used to cook roasted potatoes and all these different things. And I'm like, man, I want this to be just like it. But then I realized that it's not going to always be identical, but there are ways for us to make it as similar as possible. Right. And one of the things I've been encouraging myself to do is I still use, different, I guess people will call it faux meat. Like I still use that. Right. But I would say, I've been encouraging myself to learn how to create my own. And this is just me. I guess me as a person, I always look at a way to ascend, right? And in veganism, I mean, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, every way possible. But especially when it comes down to the different simulations of our food. For example, just yesterday I made my own chicken patty and my own like homemade biscuits, so I can try to figure out, like, I don't want to go into the store and buy the frozen chicken. Let me figure out if I can make this out of jackfruit and doing different things that can just get creative. I think going plant-based has allowed me to be a little bit more innovative. I think you started to think about different things you can do to make things taste like this and add this, and just like it's like you're a mad scientist in the kitchen.
It is
together all these different things. It's exciting to me because I love to cook. But for some people, it might be like, man, I just want this to taste like a hamburger. What do I need to go get? Like it's simple, and I'm perfectly fine with it. Some people are just like, I need a simple cut, straight to the point. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely understand that. And I definitely know at some point, though, I encourage people to challenge themselves to take it a step further, right? That's a great way to get into it. But I want them to just try thinking about how you can make that a little bit more cautious of, what you're taking in and what you can do to make it a little bit more plant-based, completely from plants, and not just from being just gentrified into something different.
Your point on what am I going to eat? I remember when I was transitioning over, my struggle was what am I going to eat now? My struggle was, what am I going to eat now? I see salads, the salad stores, and I had no clue that there was so much more food out there to choose and to pick from. I had no clue. And I'm loving, just like you said, the creativity when it comes to making dishes. I put a couple dishes together and I'm like, man, no meat, no, I don't know if you want to call it fake meat, no imitation or anything, plant-based meat, nothing. But great, fulfilling. I got my protein. I got everything, every nutrient that I need. And it's not just lettuce. I think lettuce, to me, I'm not a big fan of lettuce. I just feel like lettuce is a waste. Like it's just a waste.
It's just,
So and in saying that, I've been able to be more creative when it comes to cooking, and fortunately, I've been benefiting from it. We had a one of our favorite guests, man. He came back, fan of the show, Dr. Paul Hopkins, ND, here out of Philly. Dope, amazing guy, man. He's into holistic health, and one of the things that he shared is when it comes to our people, we were born, and raised, and we're naturally we're supposed to be close to the equator, is one of the things that he shared with us. And when he was talking to us about how our people are, typically close to the equator, and we're getting every nutrient, everything that we need. But then when it comes to the winter, we're not getting the same nutrients from the sun. How would a vegan, we dispelled that protein thing years ago. We got so many animals that all they do, we dispelled that. How does vegans add that vitamin D to their diet, and implementing that in their diet consistently?
Consistently. That's a great question. I would say for me, at first I didn't understand that coming into veganism, because I thought it was something that I had to supplement by taking something. But I think we have to find vitamin D rich foods that can allow, and this is not just, when I say foods, I don't mean just something that we can look on the back of the package and see if it has vitamin D. One of the things that I personally do, and no matter what the season is, I encourage traveling, right? I encourage traveling because sometimes the different climates give us different things. I think, and just like you said, like the winter and the, I travel to different locations in the winter for that very reason, because I know personally traveling is not just something that's just looked at as for just leisure, but it's also for exposure. Exposure to, for information, but also exposure for our bodies. We're not meant to just stay stationary in one place. And that is something, that is one of the most natural ways, I would say, is to maybe try traveling to somewhere tropical in the winter. And this is something that, you probably can't do every year, but I would say plan on doing it once or twice a year, traveling off seasons and going to, that's one of the most beneficial ways to go and get natural vitamin D is from the sun. That's I would completely say that. But then I go and it's as simple as researching what vegetables, right, and fruits carry the most nutrients when it comes down to the different vitamins that you should be having, not just vitamin D. And I feel like that's something that we sometimes take a step back and we don't necessarily do. But I would encourage us to start studying what you lack.
Right.
And that's something in every case, that's something that I encourage the most. If you know that you're deficient in certain levels, especially naturally, even before you go vegan. I know people that are that are naturally deficient in certain things, I would say
Mm-hmm.
do your research before you transition, because you don't want to make that transition and then you notice
Right.
this very bad
Right.
experience and now you're turned away from going vegan because you're
Sure.
not getting the proper nutrients. So if it's already something that you naturally lack, I would say definitely go study that. But as a vegan, I would say one of the things I make intentional is to travel.
Just to
And
travel.
travel all season. And that's something that I feel like is the most natural way to be able to gain that vitamin D.
Yeah, we were just talking about that literally yesterday. I've always said this since I was younger. If God didn't want us to see the rest of the world, He would have made it all look the same. And I felt like, it's every area, every region is different,
Yes.
and go see it.
Yeah.
Go see it. Go see the other areas. It has with prices increasing, man. Being a vegan, has it hit your pockets? Do you find it to be expensive now?
Man, it's definitely expensive, but I tell people
Hmm.
this is my luxury as I create my luxury. And
Mm.
I say that because, yes, it's expensive, but at what cost?
Mm.
And I think about that. Well, those extra $2 I might spend here and there, is that really costing me something? I'll be honest with you, Keith. I don't have much health problems in the past 3 years. I don't have to
Sure.
visit
Dang.
and go get, medications and do all these. Like, at what cost is it expensive? And that's kind of how I had to change my mindset. Yes, I spend more here, but where am I saving? Like, and I had to gain that, because I think sometimes we think about, what the immediate, expense is, but overall, what's your return on investment?
I know that's right.
And that's something that I had to just shift and think. So when people say, man, I bet it's pretty expensive, I tell them the same thing. I'm like, but at what cost?
Yeah.
I'll rather spend more now so I can save later and add more to my life later. I always think from abundance.
Mhm.
Always think from abundance. See, I always affirm it for myself after prayer. Like, after I wake up and pray, I affirm that money comes to me easily, frequently, and abundantly. Right.
Mhm.
And this is just something that I say so much, because I understand that as long as I align, as long as I continue to pour into myself, as long as I allow God to shine through me, I will continue to be able to provide for the lifestyle that I deserve. So I just encourage everybody to think not only what you're spending, but what's the cost of what's going to happen later. And that's kind of how I look at
it. And Patrick, you're a man of many things. When we talk real estate, finance, you got a lot of stuff going on. Motivational speaker, revolutionary speaker. One of the things that you said, if we can shift a little bit, one of the things that you said, and I'll ask if you can expound on it and talk about it, is if you neglect your wellness, you will be forced into your illness. If you could talk to me, if you could talk to those that's listening about that comment, about your statement, if you neglect your wellness, you will be forced into your illness. What you mean by that, man?
Man, first let me break this down, right? So when you look at the illness and the wellness, if you just look at the word structure, right? The wellness says we, the illness says I. If you just look at that, I had to first think about, like, when you start neglecting your wellness at every level, and wellness is so much more than what you just put inside your body, but it's what you put inside your mind. I know that it will start leading you slowly deteriorating, because if you don't pour into yourself, you got to think about how daily you're putting out energy. Not only you putting out energy physically, you're putting out energy mentally. When you're talking to people, you might be having conversations, you might be helping people in your family, you might just be having so many different things going on in your life. You got to think about that's taken away from you. It's taken away from your energy. It's taken away from the energy that you have in your body and in your mind. So it's going to eventually lead you into an empty cup. And that is when you start hitting the bottom as far as what you feel, as far as what you start experiencing. And that's when you start experiencing your illness, is because you're not pouring into yourself every single day. You're not giving your body, you're not giving your mind the nutrients that it needs on a consistent basis. And that just leads to why I say what you do frequently becomes your frequency. So if you don't pour into yourself daily, if you don't give yourself the proper nutrients, see, you're going to start seeing things start to deteriorate in your life. And it might start coming in a way that you might not expect it, right? And maybe it's not high blood pressure, right? Maybe it's not, anything like that. Maybe it's, you start to see it happen in your life in other ways, right? So I always say that your wellness is something that you should have as a priority in your life, because as soon as you start pouring to yourself, everything around you gets better. That's why I highlighted in the beginning of this, the we and the I, right? And illness and wellness. The wellness has we in it because it's actually part of the unity piece of it. I always believe in unity because I believed in moving in unity with my community to provide more opportunity. And wellness isn't just about you. I always say that I live beyond measure, because wellness is about pouring inside of yourself so that you can also be the best version of yourself for the people around you.
Absolutely.
Somebody in your life needs you to be rich. And when I say rich, I don't mean just financial. I mean rich in health. Somebody needs you to be rich in knowledge. Somebody needs you to be rich. So you have to remember that you're not just doing this for you. You're doing this for your community. You're doing this for the people that love you. You're doing this for the people that's around you. So your wellness don't just have to do with you. And you don't want to be forced into your illness by neglecting the very thing that you can start with yourself. And that's where I say, like, don't neglect your wellness, because it will force you into your illness.
Yeah. So Deion Sanders used to say, when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you play good.
Yeah.
And for me, that, Deion said that back in the 90s, and so many athletes, they mimic that, and I think when you look good, you feel good. That feel good, to me, it goes back to what you're saying about how you eating, your mental state, how you receiving things. You touched on something a little while ago, just really about what you're giving out. One of the things that I feel like I've mastered is my boundaries and creating my boundaries. I think I feel like I've mastered that, that, I have boundaries set up. I was that dude years ago. I'm talking 90s. I was that dude that, somebody calling me, I'm picking right up, and I'm going to give you everything. I'm gonna give you my heart. I'm gonna give you my words. I'm gonna give you something to get you through that moment, because that's what I thought I was to do. But now, for years, I've created so many boundaries around me, force fields, a bubble, whatever you want to call it, that I only allow in what I allow in, and I'll get back to you. If you're important to me, I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
If not, you'll go find something somewhere else. You'll find that answer somewhere else. So it goes back to what you're saying about, pouring out. It's like, that those deposits, those withdrawals to a bank.
Yep.
It's very similar to that. So Patrick, what got you into helping people transition? What pushed you into really seeing the needs of our people, and putting yourself in that position to be a bridge to help people get from one place to another? What was it one thing? Was it your upbringing? Was it your own journey, or was it something that you saw from afar and you said, you know what, I think I need to step on up?
I'll be honest with you, Keith. It was definitely my own journey. I would say that pain is the best teacher. And at a very young age, in February 2011, on Valentine's Day, I lost my father, and I was only 13 years old at that time. But I remember losing my father and feeling this level of pain that I could not describe to anyone. And at that moment, my family, we were still struggling. I remember we got evicted every single year. And I remember having to sleep on the floor. I remember having roach infestations. I mean, bed bug infestations. I remember living in this way. And in my head, I started to think, yes, this is where I am now, but my situation is not my final destination. And I had to start to understand that once I get out of here, I want to show other people how they can literally be where they are right now and still have so much more in them, so they can continue to move and continue to transcend past where they are. So I would say it started with me experiencing pain. It started with me losing, someone dear to my heart. And it started to compound over time through different life experiences and dealing with my mom being sick right after that, and her having several heart attacks and having strokes, and me having to be there and to be able to just be strong enough to be able to carry through to the next day. And I just always used to say to myself, see, my darkness is my superpower, because darkness can't exist without light. And I started to think, well, Patrick, if you're going through this right now, you have to grow through it. And that's when I started to understand that pain was teaching me. I started to write out the things that I was feeling. I started to do poetry. So from poetry and just presenting those things and having outlets, I started to realize that people started to be able to understand, because I had this different way of communicating. And from there, I'm like, wow, maybe I can help someone else with my story.
Right.
See, this is where God started to use me, because I was tested, but that was my testimony. And it's just like, this is my story, but I'm not my story. I'm the storyteller. I can still continue to go page by page. So I started to understand that at this moment, I can continue to use where God has taken me through for other people. And in those moments, and even after that, is where I use now to be able to coach others to transition and transpire on past where they are.
Yeah, I think it's dope, man. I think it's amazing. Sometimes there's something that happens that triggers, or there can be a life journey that triggers a response from us to that we tap into to say, you know what, all right, this is that thing that I know that I need to do X, Y, and Z, whatever that is, to support other people to be in that position to do what's necessary, because it's really not just about me. And you spoke on that earlier. You spoke about our community. If I'm not winning, if my squad not winning, how can I win? There's no way I could win if my squad not winning. And I'm a full, firm believer in that. If you in my circle, we all win. I got a small circle, but if you're in my circle, we are all winning. So no, I just think that's dope, man. I think it's amazing, man, the work that you're doing. Patrick, what else you got going on, brother?
Man.
Tell everybody, man, where they can find you. Tell us, what else you got on, man. So, I love, this is one of the platforms when this idea first came up, man. This platform was to put our people on. We often, see the other ones, man, with celebrities, with these top notch people, but it's so many people that's on the ground, that got their foots on the ground, that's doing amazing work, man. And what we wanted to do, was really just put people up there, man, and just talk about the amazing work that they're doing. Somebody can be inspired. Somebody can be pushed, to get on out there, and motivated to do some of the same work or what God has shared with them to go ahead and do. So, if you don't mind, man, tell some of the people where they can find you and some of the work that you got going on.
Of course. I can be found on all platforms. The Real Pat Page on Instagram, Patrick Page on Facebook, Patrick Page on YouTube. I'm just now starting to upload more on YouTube again. And one of the things that I really like to talk about too is financial advancement and financial literacy. So coming out the Air Force, I went into entrepreneurship. I became a realtor while I was in the Air Force, and I started my real estate investment company. And that was just so I can start teaching our people about ownership. Right. And I wanted to start teaching people about how to start investing into their first home. And I created, products around that. I have my first time home buyer's guide at grabmykeys.com. And I wanted to just start to provide as much information as possible. I really wanted to become the person I wish I had. To be honest with you, I bought my first house at 20 years old. But I'm thinking like, wow, if I just had people to continue to coach me and pour into me, let me become that person for someone else, right? So now I want to coach. I'm teaching my brother who's 14 right now about real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, let me reach back and provide the information necessary so that, you know, information changes situations with implementation. I don't want to just provide knowledge. I want to give people the tools and the systems so they can actually get through with the knowledge, right? And that's why I like to tell people, don't just take the information, right? Come to the platforms. Motivation and inspiration, that's great, but let's use that as fuel to get to our dreams. I tell somebody to allow your dreams to be birthed. Give birth to your dreams and ideas, right? Because that's something that I think, you know, we sometimes get on this highway of chasing our dreams, and then we have a collision somewhere in our life and we slow down. Right? There's nothing wrong with slowing down, and you can keep your own pace, but stay on that highway of chasing your dreams. So what I do now is I teach people about how to turn their mindset into their greatest asset. Your mindset is your first asset, but let me also teach you the skill sets that's going to allow you to build these assets. And the skill sets that I teach is real estate, right? I teach people how to get into real estate with or without a license. So with or without your real estate license, I'm teaching you how to get into real estate. I'm teaching you how to go get private funding and lending, right? Just in case you might not have the credit or you might not have the money to go invest. I'm teaching you where to go find this funding. I'm teaching you how to go start your rental portfolios without owning the property, so you can start having some cash flow every month, right? I'm teaching you these different strategies so that, you know, people can start getting and start building wealth, right? But building wealth starts with you. It starts with your mindset. It starts with you understanding that it's possible for you. And that's something that I teach. So I also have a class that's coming up on April 13th called the Real Estate Mayhem. It's going to be an hour and a half. It's under $100 right now for the first.
You said April? August
13th. I'm sorry, August 13th. So that's in like another week. So August 13th is called the Real Estate Mayhem, teaching people how to get into real estate with or without a license. And I'm just giving so many different strategies on there. I provide contracts, scripts. You'll get the live recording. So just in case you trying to take notes and you can't take it fast enough, I'm giving everybody everything. So you can go on my Instagram and Facebook, and you'll be able to see all that there as well.
Man of many faces, man of many, a Game of Thrones acknowledgement right there. Patrick, I got a couple hitters, man. Do you drink wine or anything?
I occasionally drink wine. Occasionally, yes.
Also, I love me a nice glass of wine. If you could choose 4 people to sit down and have a conversation with over a glass of wine, dead or alive, 4 people that you would love to have a conversation with, you know, at a table, glass of wine, be it red or white, you know, and sit there and have a conversation, man. They could be dead or alive. Who's those 4 people?
Man, I would definitely say one of the first people. Man, that's pretty. That's a strong one. One I'm gonna have to say. I would say Malcolm X is one of the people I would put up there, just because of how he just revolutionized the community at that time.
Absolutely.
I would definitely say another person, just because of the level of peace that I saw, was Maya Angelou, man. Maya Angelou, I love the level of peace that she had. So I would say Maya Angelou. Another person that I would definitely say, just because of their business acumen, would be definitely Jay-Z. You know, he's
okay. Dope.
I would give him that's number 3. And just someone in my personal life will be my father. And that's just for my own understanding of my bloodline. If you want to grow and you want to continue your legacy, sometimes you got to talk to those that came before you. And I think just to be able to continue that on, I would have to finish with my father.
That's a dope 4, man. Malcolm X, Maya Angelou, Jay-Z, and your dad, man. That's a nice 4, man. That's a nice 4. One last question, man. One last question before we go. One book. If you could, if someone asked you, hey, can you recommend a book to me? One of your favorite books. If you could recommend a book, man, and tell us just briefly about whatever book that is. What book would that be?
Oh, I got a whole shelf of them, man. Oh man. Okay, so one of them, I'm sorry I can't remember the author's name right now, but it's only one. It's called The Power of Now.
Okay.
It's called The Power of Now, right? And the power of now, it allows you to embrace your here and now, and that your here and now is your gift where you are right now. And it tells you how to be able to cherish that so much that you're not living too far in the future and you're not focusing too far in the past. And it allows you to just be able to just lock in to living full so that you can die empty. You're locking into where you are right now because you have 100% of the time won every battle that you faced. And it just goes into locking into that and using your God-given gifts and unique abilities to be able to withstand anything that comes your way. And it's called The Power of Now, man. I'm sorry I don't know the author right now. So many different books, but it's The Power of Now. And I love that book so much.
I'm a little familiar with it. I'm not sure if I read that book, but I'm familiar with the title. I'm definitely familiar with the title, man. Patrick, dope, man. I appreciate you, man. I do. I appreciate you coming on, man, at the call, man. We're in the same group, man, and hope we can continue to connect. I want to thank Patrick, man. If everybody can follow Patrick, if you know anyone looking for any real estate, wanting to get into real estate, follow Patrick on his YouTube page. I'm sorry, on his IG page, on all platforms, and connect with my brother, man, so he can show you or show some of your family members how to get to where you want to get to. So if you can, just follow Patrick Page. He shared all his users with you. Dope, man. Dope conversation. Certainly appreciate you. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. If you can, go to all our platforms, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on YouTube, and continue to download Spotify, Apple iTunes, Amazon Music. Continue to download our content. Share our content with your friends. And remember, I want you guys to have a great week. One of the things that I do want to share is to, this week, if you can, protect your mind, protect your heart, protect your health, and protect your emotions this week. If you can, try to start doing some things for yourself this week. Put some boundaries up for yourself. Don't let everybody in. One of the things I always like to say, I got this from my pastor years ago, is to live today as if it's your last, but prepare for tomorrow. This is Keith, and this is Just Our Thoughts with the Fellas, but it's only me and Patrick. Thanks. Peace.
Thank you.